An 18-year-old man went into a grocery store in Buffalo, shot 13 people, killing 10. 11 of the 13 who were shot were black, and as was revealed in his manifesto that was released, this was all due to his disgusting racist beliefs. So in a second here, I'll go through kind of the summary of what happened in Buffalo over the weekend. But then the majority of the video today, I just want to spend on talking about what led this guy to doing what he did, and the fact that words matter and they have an impact and they can lead to very devastating real world consequences like what we saw. But first, let's just go through what happened with this mass shooting. So an 18-year-old drove 200 miles from where he lived to go to a grocery store in Buffalo, and we now know that that is because he felt like the most amount of black people would be in this area. So he drove 200 miles to get to a place where he felt like there'd be enough black people so he could kill them. And unlike some other cases where it seems racially motivated, but there's a question mark, this one could not be more clear. He wrote an entire manifesto laying out how he wanted to go about this and all of the beliefs that he has that make him feel justified or that motivate him into doing something like this. So in the afternoon, he got to this grocery store. Outside, he killed 4 people. Then he went up to the entry. A guard approached him. He killed that guard. And then he went into the store and killed even more people. And as I mentioned, 13 people were shot total, 11 of them being black and 10 were killed. This was all very planned out. As I mentioned in the manifesto, he laid out how he might want to go about it. And then he wore tactical kind of military gear as if he were going into some sort of battle just to go kill innocent people. I just think it's important to humanize these people who were killed. It's not just 10 people. Each one of those people have a life, they have family, they're a part of a community. And so just some of the people who've been talked about: a retired police lieutenant, a substitute teacher who was a quote pillar of the community, a beloved grandmother of 6, and a dedicated community activist. So each one of these people, they were a part of this community. They were completely innocent. They had family, a grandmother with 6 grandchildren, and they were all taken off this earth because someone had racist views and thought that white people were being replaced. So that's kind of the breakdown of the actual event. But now let's talk about what I mentioned earlier, that words matter. And someone like him who's 18 years old doesn't get this type of ideology from nowhere. So in this manifesto, he talks about going to these right-wing sources for his information, and then of course developing these views about the great replacement theory, the fact that black and brown people were replacing white people, and of course, as you'd expect, tons of anti-Semitism as well. But he decided because these non-white people were coming to replace white people, he was going to go to a high percentage black area to try to kill black people. Now, some of that might sound familiar to you. The Great Replacement Theory, where have I heard that? I'll tell you where you've heard it. The largest cable news show in the country, Tucker Carlson. And before anyone freaks out, if you're on the right and you're watching this and you think I'm gonna try to blame this all on just generally the right, no. We have to be able to distinguish between the far right and just conservatives, of course. And every single conservative who isn't on board with this crazy, horrible stuff should be absolutely on board with us going hard against this radical right-wing ideology. I mean, when there is an Islamic terrorist, what do people do? They start talking about radical Islam, and what is it about radical Islam that's causing people to do these terrible things? Well, when someone specifically cites their far-right, racist, white supremacist views, we have to be able to break that down and talk about that. And so this is not some partisan issue where I'm trying to blame that side and they're saying, no, absolutely not. This is every single person in the country uniting around the fact that this very, very, very far right fringe is having elements of its beliefs broadcasted out on very mainstream platforms. And so even if you think, oh, I like some of the stuff that Tucker Carlson says, the second that you realize he's perpetuating and elevating concepts that were born in the disgusting, terrible end of the white supremacist internet, that's when you should say goodbye to someone like Tucker Carlson and all of these right-wing shows that are perpetuating the talking points that this guy clearly believed in and was clearly motivated by to go kill innocent people. It could not be more clear. Again, I'm not someone who just wants to call names and try to do anything to hurt the other side. You'll have to know that by now. But when we look at a set of facts, a kid went down a right-wing pipeline that led him to believing horrible racist things, that led him to killing 10 innocent people. We have to be able to look at that honestly, everyone, right, left, and center, and say, we have to fix that. Something is wrong with what is going around in right-wing media spaces. And again, I want to be saying, because I don't want to alienate people, just far right, but that makes it sound like it's just this small group. We're talking about the largest cable news show. Tucker Carlson is saying these exact phrases that the guy said in his own manifesto. Okay, so now let's watch this montage of Tucker Carlson warning his followers they just might be getting replaced.
In other words, you're being replaced and there's nothing you can do about it. So shut up. The great replacement theory, it's a lie, they yelled. George Soros has nothing to do with that. Stop talking. They said we were espousing something called the great replacement theory, a well-known racist fantasy. The great replacement. They acknowledge that it's real and they love it. This policy is called the great replacement, the replacement of legacy Americans with more obedient people from faraway countries. The great replacement plan is working. Left and all the little gatekeepers on Twitter become literally hysterical if you use the term replacement. If you suggest that the Democratic Party is trying to replace the current electorate, the voters now casting ballots, with new people, more obedient voters from the third world. But they become hysterical because that's what's happening, actually. Let's just say it, that's true.
And why are people right now in this moment focusing on Tucker Carlson? Well, it's because he is the largest figure and he's been very obviously integrating some of these ideas into what he puts out there. So that's why you focus on him, because he's kind of the king of right-wing media and he's perpetuating this ideology. But it's not just Tucker Carlson. So many right-wing shows on YouTube are openly talking about the great replacement theory, or if not actually using those three words, they're definitely talking about real Americans. Some of them just say white Americans or European descent Americans are being replaced. So from the largest cable news show all the way to all these independent YouTube programs, all of them are screaming about the fact that, and they use different words, but either real Americans or conservatives or you, they'll just talk directly to you, but they know who we're talking about. Or some of them go all the way to say white people are being replaced. And can you believe that this kid who got his news from places like 4chan, 8chan, started believing that exact theory so strongly that he felt like people had to be killed because of it. And I'm sitting here, I don't know what to do. This news broke and I'm having a really hard time emotionally processing, because I feel like if I had been saying something for years on end, talking about this theory that people are trying to replace you with people from the third world or people who don't look like you or non-white people, and then I watch as someone use my almost word for word phrasing in their manifesto and then went and killed 10 people, I would have a little bit of introspection time and need to question myself about what I'm doing, because so many of these right-wing shows have realized, oh, I can do really well in all of these algorithms if I put out content talking about these subjects. So they keep talking about it and talking about it and talking about it and getting more and more extreme. But we have to call people to be human for a moment. What does all that money and fame matter if you're getting people killed? Of course, we don't know specifically if the guy watched Tucker Carlson or any of these other right-wing shows, but we know the concepts that are spread in those media circles are the ones he was picking up on and believing. And I'm just having this moment today where I want to look some of these people in the eye and just beg them to tap into their humanity, have compassion, care about something for one moment outside of yourself. How could something as tragic as this, where you watch someone kill innocent people, and you can go read his manifesto where he's literally just saying all of the things that right-wing media love saying right now. And again, I'm not just going after people on the right or conservatives. Tons of people are horrified by this. Of course, they don't even like any of the ideology this guy's espousing. They don't believe in the great replacement theory. None of that. Tons of conservatives are amazing. I need you guys to believe that. They're not some monsters. Some people on the left recently are pretending like all Republicans are crazy monsters. That's just not true. If you hear someone saying that, they're completely wrong. They haven't met Republicans in real life. Tons of Republicans are delightful. They have different beliefs. What we're talking about is a far fringe element that just happens to take up a lot of the right right now. It's true. When you look at polling, a lot of this far right is a big chunk of the Republican base right now. But we cannot let ourselves overgeneralize. There are good, decent Republicans, and we just have to bring them over or unite with them. I know a lot of you won't believe me, but trust me, go out in the world. There's a lot of conservatives who, yes, we're going to disagree on tons of stuff, and maybe we wouldn't even be able to get some stuff done if we were in government together, but they are good and decent. They also are disgusted by a lot of this more far right stuff. I just want to keep reminding you guys of that because I'm hearing a lot of rhetoric on the left lately that's like, oh, all Republicans are evil, blah, blah, blah. Not true. But this block that Tucker Carlson is leading and all of these far right media hosts are perpetuating is absolutely in the evil category. I don't like using that term, but the beliefs that they believe in are undeniably evil. And an 18-year-old was so propagandized that he wanted to kill people. I know this is sort of redundant, but I'm trying to process this with you guys sort of on camera because a senior in high school heard so much of this hateful, disgusting stuff that he wanted to kill people. Now, of course, that by no means minimizing his culpability. It's all him. But it does make you think, wow, someone who's that young could be injected mentally with so many hateful views from a chunk of the right that is not so small anymore that he wants to go and kill innocent people. So we have to call every single one of those, like I was saying, good, decent Republicans and say, we got to, at least for this, we have to unite around excising this type of ideology from any American political space. It is becoming way too common to openly discuss, oh, white people are being replaced. None of that. It is rooted in hate. All it's trying to do is make an us and a them and divide and conquer. And to anyone who believes some of these ideas or watches people who have talked about these things, wake up, tap into your humanity, and please scrutinize where you're getting your information from. We have a huge problem and we have to address it. Imagine what it feels like every day knowing that some lunatic like this guy could come kill you just because you're black or just because you don't look like him. So not only is this a huge tragedy, and of course all of our thoughts have to be going towards the family and friends of the victims lost, but it also reminds us that words do matter.